let's start with Pav. We're going to start with Pavan Dhaliwal from Revolving Doors, and with Pav is Anthony Egunjobi, who's one of the people who Revolving Doors has mentored. Pav, I should say, by the way, is the managing director or chief exec of Revolving Doors. So, Pav, take it away.
Great, thanks so much, Alison. Okay? Yep, fab, great. Okay, so thank you so much for having us here. So, as Danny said, I'm from Revolving Doors, and I was in a meeting earlier, and somebody else described our organisation. I thought I really like this description. Someone said that, "Oh, Revolving Doors, you're very much a think and do tank." And actually, I thought to myself, actually, that's a really good description of us. So, yeah, we work across criminal justice reform, and it's very much rooted in the voices of lived experience. And that's what we've been obviously hearing about here today. But what I'm going to be talking about very specifically is pre-arrest diversion, and how the police can respond to young adults in a way that helps break the cycle of crisis and crime. So people who commit repeated low-level and non-violent crimes driven by a combination of mental ill health, homelessness, substance misuse, trauma, discrimination and poverty. So that's normally described as multiple disadvantage. So for this particular cohort of people, without addressing the drivers of crime, they often go on to reoffend until their unmet health and social needs are met. Now, how does LEAD work? So under the model, police officers, when presented with an arrestable offence, or when they encounter people entering custody, they can offer LEAD as an alternative. And if accepted, the officer will conduct what we thought was quite unfortunately termed as a warm handoff to the case manager, who immediately tries to build a relationship. Because the key here for this particular cohort of people, and it was alluded to before, the relationship is very much the intervention here when we're talking about the repeat low-level offences over time. Now, if that individual initially agrees to a psychosocial assessment and to information sharing about the case, that case is diverted entirely out of the criminal justice system. And because LEAD's been in place for a number of years, the way that they've developed their approach now, which we found really interesting, is that they also take community referrals. So it could be that you own the local off licence and you see the same person who has a substance misuse issue coming in and stealing from your shop, and actually you know that you could call the police, but it's not actually going to change anything. They've actually managed to build relationships in local areas where people in the community, and this also extends to family members, can actually call LEAD directly and make that referral. And the key part of this approach is because LEAD is very much not the police, and it's not seen as being as part of the police. They have local sort of civil rights, like third sector NGO organisations involved with them, as well as working with their equivalent of the housing teams, probation teams, and other agencies. And with the Revolving Door group, you're talking about a small minority of people who create the greatest churn and cost to the system. So we think it's quite an exciting time. And I am going to now hand over to my colleague Anthony, who's going to tell you a bit more about the importance of diversion, in particular for young adults, but also around care leavers' experiences. So, Anthony, you go for it.
Thank you, Pav. Hi, I'm Anthony Egunjobi, and I'm a lived experience member of Revolving Doors since 2020. I formerly worked on the New Generation programme, specifically looking at policing and diverting young people away from the criminal justice system put in place for me. What I personally wouldn't say works for young people and police moving forward is the communication, as young people don't really trust police and multiple agencies actually communicating with each other. For personal experience, I was arrested as a teenager for robbery and another offence which I can't remember, but it was 3 specific officers who helped me not only grant a CBO, but also transfer me to an SEL program within Essex, which is Barking Football Academy. And not only was I in care, but there's a stigma of young people in care who actually end up in the system. Why? Because there's not really much guidance. There's no parents. There's only a social worker who works from 9 to 5. And who can really actually look at all your interests and take interest in what you actually want to do in life and actually look forward and actually want to dream and achieve. But let me not go off too much onto that subject. Let me swiftly round it up then. Prioritizing diversion and long-term investment swiftly, just to make sure that the key ages of 18 to 25 are fully funded, and to make sure that there's guidance and making sure that young people don't reach a crossroad where they actually turn their back on the criminal justice system or they fall into the trap of it. And let's just focus on less making statistics and let's actually start reducing them instead. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Pav.